Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football presented by BKCW. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from, as we're just a little over 24 hours away from game day. Obviously, get your questions in. Plus, we want to know, what are you drinking this morning? So let us know that as well.
Blake's drinking Christmas spirit every morning.
Right, just straight out of the straw.
Oh, man. Presented to you by Hallmark Channel.
may need to get us the new sponsor there. That's a good idea. But guys, normally we start with, I guess, Texas news, but national recruiting shakeup last night that we're going to start with this morning. Just spill it for everybody.
Well, yeah, Bobby wants to have some fun with this one, so go ahead.
Yeah, Jerry, you and I both got a giggle the minute they started talking about $10 million for a high school quarterback, and LSU thought they were going to keep him. That was the minute. That was the minute that we knew it couldn't happen. I think our friend Bryce Underwood, the quarterback out of Belleville, Michigan, long committed to LSU, number one player in the country, by the way. Belleville, Michigan. Visited LSU 2 weeks ago, reaffirmed his commitment. Michigan NIL folks have gotten involved, and literally they made him a Godfather offer. They made him an offer he couldn't refuse, apparently $10+ million over 3 years, and he has now switched his commitment. This puts the LSU class in jeopardy in many different directions. Now they're not only is Cade Phillips, one of the top defensive backs in the country, visiting Texas this weekend. They have another top defensive back.
DJ Pickett, an absolute stud out of Zephyr Hills and the Tampa area.
Yeah, he's visiting elsewhere. There are other aspects of this that could affect Texas. It is happening within just 9 days or 10 days of National Signing Day, so we'll see exactly what could happen. But long story short, college football is in a little bit of upheaval. It comes on the heels, by the way, of another quarterback making a switch. Julian Lewis committing to Colorado, and Deion Sanders, young man out of Georgia, was originally committed to USC. USC saw the writing on the wall and plucked A&M's quarterback earlier this week.
This is the most late movement at quarterback I've ever seen.
Well, I'm going to
three of the most highly ranked guys in the country, Bobby. 3 out of the top 5, 6, 7 guys flipping this late tells you the sign of the times in college football.
Yep, and don't forget, also yesterday, Florida State, Florida State, picked up Oklahoma's quarterback commitment out of Denton, Texas.
Who's actually from Oklahoma, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's going to go see him beat Charleston Southern to be 2-9 on the season or whatever. But my point being, and Jerry's point better taken, a lot of movement, and some of it will have repercussions. Of the moves that happened yesterday, though, the one that Jerry and CJ and myself and Blake were all looking at is the LSU one, because that might have some direct impact on the Longhorns. Jake Jones, for LSU recruiting, is it just the results on the field, or is there something else causing this downward spiral? I don't know how downward it is yet. That's TBD, to be determined, outside of Bryce Underwood, but certainly some aspects of it, the yelling on the sidelines, for example, and dressing down players in maybe inappropriate ways, all going to be an issue for Brian Kelly, in my opinion.
And we saw it in the Dominic Williams portal recruitment last year on D-line. LSU can compete in NIL, but they can't really go all the way on some of these kids. They're a little bit NIL strapped in this arms race, in my opinion, right now. By the way, hey Blake, you got the noise ready?
Oh, hang on. Give me 2 seconds here.
All right, Kelly got Manscaped.
5.0, baby. 9 days before signing day. That's a tough one.
Hey, before we go further, I do have some more things I want to say about that. I want to say thank you to our sponsor each and every Friday morning's live stream, Coffee and Football, brought to you by our friends over at BKCW. BKCW takes you and your business out of the insurance trap by providing you with actual risk management consulting, not just price quoting. Operating out of its headquarters in Austin and owned by a UT grad, BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so that you can lower your insurance costs and effectively manage your company's risks and employee benefits. BKCW has risk consultants that specialize in several different industries, from construction and transportation companies, nonprofits, restaurant groups, school districts. You'll get matched up with someone who knows your risks and can help you escape the insurance trap. Get started with a free risk assessment at bkcw.com or send an email to info@bkcw.com to get started and get the support you deserve. Thanks to BKCW for their long-term sponsorship of Coffee and Football. We appreciate you guys very much.
Good stuff there. Thank you, Bobby. All right, guys. One of the things that we need to look at this morning as I get it ready is the availability report that has been updated since yesterday, and a little bit of change for the Longhorns as Blackwell and Vossick now both listed as probable.
Yeah, that is definitely a change for Blackwell. We've talked about him. It's senior day for him, guys. He wants to go. It is a hamstring injury. It was confirmed yesterday by Steve Sarkisian. Moore, still a foot injury, listed as questionable. What's Texas going to do now at that slot receiver? We'll have to wait and see. Colton Vossick, though, this is really good news, Jerry. Him making progress is something that we absolutely wanted to see because he's had so many issues with injuries over the last 2 years. His only 2 years on campus. It's good that he's getting a little healthier. One note of a piece on the Kentucky side, Khalil Saunders is a little bit of a backup for them. He is a questionable at defensive line. J.J. Weaver, one of their linebackers, is a probable. So that means he's going to go.
J.J. Weaver's their best pass rusher. I think he's got 5 sacks this year. He's a senior kid that's had some injuries, but good. He's a solid player when he's healthy. Obviously, Maxwell Harrison not on that list. He's going to go at corner. So they're going to be these last 2 games. I mean, look, we talked to Darryl Bird yesterday, and Mark Stoops needs to try to make a bit of a statement here. These last 2 games, he's got Texas Saturday, and then he's got rivalry game against Louisville, and he wants to be in a better place headed into next year than he currently is. So we'll see. They're bringing their best defensively Saturday to Austin.
Hey, I want to take 1 second. Matt Kester is with us and always on this show very often. And I want to put this. Matt Kester says, my wife had neck surgery yesterday, so we're in the hospital this morning at CityPlex in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Could you please give a get well to Carrie? We absolutely can. Folks, if in the chat, if you want to do it as well, do it with us. But Carrie, good luck to you in your recovery. I hope everything goes well for you and Matt and your family. Matt says, love the show, guys. My son and I watch it and listen as much as we can in the mornings before and on the way to school. Hook 'em, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Buddy.
Jerry, Bobby, I'm going to let you read one more super chat here. This one from Dan.
Dan Schubert. That's an appropriate name for someone that speaks German. Guten Morgen von Niedersachsen, drinking Armagnac and eating cheese. Hook 'em. I got to say this. My wife took German in high school, so she thinks she knows all things German. What she knows is to go to Germany and drink Glühwein and go to the Christmas shops. That's her big thing.
Hey, Bobby.
Give us grief now, but yeah.
Hey, Bobby, since we've had a lot of people join, do you still have the donut?
I do have the donut.
Hey, Texas fans, now this is the way to ring in Senior Day right here.
Look at this.
This is a creation of a donut.
This is not me. This is from Donut Taco Palace.
That's amazing.
Good
stuff. There we go. And unlike a hot dog or a corn dog with mayo, I may actually eat that at some point.
You better be ready to eat one next week, right, Jerry?
Oh, yeah. All about you too, Blake. Get mayo on the Christmas trees, though.
Oh, man, that's neither here nor there. Well, guys, it's Senior Day tomorrow, of course. Great weather for that, 75 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds. Of course, the line, no movement there. But I want to talk about the seniors more so than the line. What are we expecting there? And I'd like to get y'all's thoughts just on that class in general, kind of a reflection, looking back on some of these main contributors here.
I've got a list here. that just floored me when I was going through it this morning, prepping for the show. 9 starters. Okay. 9 starters, 8 guys that are glued to the program at some level. So here are the 9 starters. Okay. Bert Auburn, starter at kicker. Vernon Broughton, Barron Sorrell, Gunnar Helm, Hayden Connor, Jake Majors, Jade Barron, Andrew Makuba. Tell me that's not. I mean, just think of Helm, Sorrell. These majors. These are guys that have provided a spine for this program. Okay, now Sark's went out and got the pieces and the bells and whistles to join with them. Jade. I mean, then you have guys that like Mo Blackwell and David Benda. Benda started off and on. Blackwell's seen time, but are they both? I mean, Blackwell plays on every special teams, right? I mean, these are the guys that are the backbone of the program. Jermaine Lole, Juan Davis, 4 years, and just now really seeing the field, but stuck with it. Big believer in guys like this. Big believer.
Look, whenever there's a coaching change, there always has to be a few guys who stick around, buy into a coach's and staff's vision, because it's a vision before it becomes a reality, and really stay the course and buy into the player development. And a lot of those names you mentioned there, Bobby, are all going to be guys that Sark references in player development, talking about the NFL draft next year as it gets closer, the Senior Bowls, all those sort of things when Sark's being interviewed around the country. And so that is a piece of it. But look, Texas is we don't need to tell anybody what the last 15 years were like, with the exception of a couple of seasons before last year. And, Jake Majors, Alfred Collins, Jade Barron, there's some leadership within those guys. Some of those names you listed, Gunnar Helm. But they're all so key in helping get this program, the ship righted, going in the head in the right direction. And the complete buy-in you have to have throughout a coaching change for that to happen. I think Sark may get a little emotional with some of these guys Saturday because he wouldn't be here without them.
He should. What I heard that what they did at practice yesterday was awesome. Apparently, at the end of practice, they acknowledged this is probably the last home practice on a Thursday for people. He literally had the team create a tunnel and have the seniors run through it. Yeah. And they applauded their own teammates applauded him, which I thought was outstanding. Basically, really good stuff. There is a couple other things like I want to talk about as it relates to this, and I hesitate to mention it because I don't want us to be diverted or go off on this super long tangent on this, Jerry. But I think some people are trying to manufacture some controversy right now. Is Quinn Ewers coming back? There are going to be clickbait videos, clickbait stories from all over the country, just like there have been with Arch. Is Arch transferring? Okay. This will be Quinn Ewers' last regular season home game as a Longhorn.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody pretending otherwise, or, oh, well, he may come back and there's going to be this big controversy in Austin. Stop it. Okay. No. We're not going to participate in that.
No.
Okay. We're not going to manufacture drama for you guys. If you can't understand that, then I'm sorry. But this is just not something we're going to do. We're going to actually track other guys and their decisions, like Cam Williams, like DJ Campbell, like potential Michael Taft, Trey Moore, guys that might actually be on the precipice of a decision. Quinn Ewers, this will be his last run at Texas. So anybody acting like it might be different, we're not going to manufacture and participate in that. And hopefully you guys understand that and appreciate it. Because I'm telling you, there's going to be people out there trying to run the average Texas fan or the Texas fan that doesn't really follow the team all that much, except on Saturdays. They're going to run this narrative out there and try to confuse and conflate the issue, and we're just not here for it. So I hope y'all understand that, and I guarantee you today there will be at least 3 or 4 videos about is Quinn Ewers staying somewhere on the internet. You know,
and by the way, let's also say this because Quinn's a big part of this turnaround too. And
hell yes.
Quarterbacks are the most controversial position in sports, period, and they always will be, always have been. And he is that decision to transfer, and whatever happened with, Tom Herman messed it up. Yeah, we're not going to talk about the history of the recruitment, but the point from when he transferred from Ohio State to Texas, and then that 2022 offensive line class signed were huge in this program of flipping. Huge. I mean, Quinn Ewers coming home from Ohio State was a big deal in recruiting for Steve Sarkisian and staff. You know how big a deal it was? It was an official visit weekend, and when Sark got word that Quinn was going in the portal, Sark got his butt to Southlake.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Quinn, he's had his ups and downs this year for sure, and throughout his time here, it's part of the business of being quarterback. But his return to Texas was very key in Sark's rebuild of this program. And look, we talk about the games, the plays, and everything around that, but the big picture is that transfer back from Ohio State to Texas was big for the University of Texas in the rebuild.
Kick started all.
Yeah.
That and I think the Pancake Factory played 2 big roles in it. And I want to say this. People say, "Oh, well, Bobby, why don't you like Quinn?" You're wrong. I like Quinn. But Quinn's got faults just like every other quarterback out there. I mean, and so when you say something negative or is perceived as negative about people glom onto that. Oh, well, you don't like him. That's not true. Quinn Ewers has been a great representative of the University of Texas. You've never heard him. You just don't hear him doing things that. Yeah, I am happy that Quinn Ewers is a Longhorn, and anybody that says differently just doesn't understand where we're coming from. Been a tremendous player. The wins pretty much speak for themselves, by the way, guys. I have to say that too.
Okay, I want to read this super chat here from Maddie M. Thank you, Maddie. Good morning, all. Beautiful weekend for me to head from the 210 to the 512 to watch our Horns go 10-1 on Senior Day. Hope to stop by the tailgate and say hi. And thank you for all you do for us Longhorn fans. Hook 'em.
Please do stop by the tailgate, guys. Same place, same area. Blake, this one from Cinco de Mayo. Headed to Austin for the game tomorrow with my son. Can you share where the OTF tailgate will be? Thank you. Blake, will you do that for us, buddy?
I just dropped it in the chat.
Okay, so all you have to do is there is no charge for the tailgate, but our friends Surly Horns, as well as Faust Distributing, all help put that on. If you'll donate some whatever nominal amount you want to donate when you're there, that would be great to help them defray costs. They put this on all season long, and it's been great. To get out there and do it. Jerry and I will be out there at 10:30 tomorrow morning with the Texas tailgate. We'll be talking a little Longhorn football before the 11 o'clock game. The 11 o'clock game tomorrow, Jerry, is Ole Miss in Florida. What do you think of that, man? This Florida game, and you got word on Kellen Wiley either late yesterday or early this morning. The linebacker out of Tampa is actually going to be at Florida after all. Is Myron Charles going to be at Florida? Do we know for sure yet? The defensive lineman?
A chance that him and Javion Hilson are both at Florida. I would say there. Texas was trying to get all those kids back on campus. Obviously, Cocoa has a Friday night playoff game. Port Charlotte has a Friday night playoff game. Armwood has a Friday night playoff game as well. So we have a lot of Gators versus Longhorns battles in the Sunshine State coming down the stretch. Not that Javion Hilson is. He's Texas and Texas A&M, but obviously Florida's trying to make a late run at some of these guys, as they should. If they're not doing their job, honestly. But they're looking for 2 semi-home run weekends in a row Obviously, if they beat LSU and Ole Miss back to back, then they would actually have a little momentum for the first time in a while. But I mean, I'm not expecting that against Ole Miss, honestly, unless Ole Miss sleepwalks. And I just think they have too much to play for. And Florida's offensive line has to deal with the best pass rushers in the country. So somebody's asking about Michigan getting away for Texas on Hilson. I'd be surprised at that. He's never been a kid looking north to me. Now, things can change. It's recruiting in the NIL day and age, but that one would surprise me a little bit. His recruitment has all been in the Southeast region. Committed to Bama, committed to FSU. Right now, Texas A&M, the top two. Florida's still chasing. Everything has been southeast with Javion Hilson. I think that one actually would be a surprise to me if he ended up north for college. But, we'll see. We live in the NIL day and age, but I'd put that at a small percentage.
I was going to say that kind of came out of nowhere. Is that something relatively new? Have they been tracking?
They offered him 2 days ago, which, was just – if they're coming out and offering him that late, they've had a couple of guys flip. They had a rough go of it until they just said enough of this. We got to have a quarterback here because we've played like 7 this year and none of them have worked.
Hey, Jerry, this is total non sequitur here. You could take off your seatbelt if you're stationary, buddy. Yeah, just letting you.
I'm definitely not driving.
Stay a while, buddy.
I'm definitely not driving in this car while I'm doing the show with the computer on the steering wheel, although I've thought about trying it before.
I do believe that. Oh, man.
Hey, look, this show gets a little wild at times, man. You never know.
Oh, sometimes you got to buckle up.
You got to buckle
Gird
in.
your loins.
You got to gird up your loins for the last.
Hey, Blake, can you put that SEC schedule back up, please? If you don't mind. By the way, Ole Miss favored by 10 in this game against Florida. The other games of note, other than Texas and Kentucky, a couple of ones that I'm watching in particular, those near the last 4 on this list. Missouri, Mississippi State. Mississippi State is 0 in conference. They have a chance against Missouri, in my opinion. It's at home. We'll see what happens. Okay. Alabama, Oklahoma. All right. So Alabama is. Look, I think if Oklahoma could do one thing, it's likely stop the run, okay? What they can't do is score on anybody. So the only way Oklahoma, I think, really has a chance here is if Jalen Milroe turns into a turnover factory. And he has reverted at times, Jerry.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma can turn people over. They've proven that they can turn folks over. All right, so that one. I'll leave one of them for last year. Vanderbilt then goes to LSU. LSU has lost 3 games in a row. Their recruiting class is, look, they're talking about firing Brian Kelly right now over there and how large his buyout is. It's around $60 million, by the way. Okay. So Vanderbilt goes in and walks into LSU and beats LSU. I think Brian Kelly's may need to go, hide out in a swamp hut for a little while. And not have a safe house, so to speak. A&M versus Auburn. Aggies only favored by 2.5, Jerry.
Well, look, that game is interesting because people, if people haven't watched Auburn much this year, you see the record, and if you just look at their schedule, like, oh gosh, they're terrible. But Auburn doesn't have a bad roster of football players. They've just been bad at offensive football at the wrong times in a lot of home games. Pick 6 to lose the OU game after outgaining them by 150 yards, multiple turnovers against Arkansas. I mean, that's one team that is that's more talented than their record indicates. And they've gone 0 at home this year. Are they really going to go 0 at home? I mean, I think A&M's got to go in and play well. I think A&M's the better team, clearly. But Auburn can, if they put it together one time this year, they can beat A&M. They've got good defensive players. They've got a number of guys that are going to be on NFL rosters on that team. They're not void of talent. They've been void of making the right plays at the right times this season and not having self-inflicted wounds that cost them games.
Yeah.
Hey, interesting thing, Bobby. I want to point out on that injury report for that game, somebody pointed out in the chat yesterday, and I had seen it, but I hadn't commented on it. because who knows what it means next week. But Reuben Owens is listed as doubtful instead of out. So is because he had the ankle injury early in fall camp. He is now on the injury report as doubtful. But could you see him maybe give it a go against Texas last game of the year? Because he's not hurting his red shirt now. He could play against Texas because with the loss of Le'Veon Moss, something to watch next week.
Yep, that would be huge. Hey, I want to say this about Auburn as we talk about their schedule this year. Georgia's the only team that's really blown them out. Right. Georgia beat them 31-13, but they lost to Missouri 21-17. They lost to Vanderbilt 17-7. They lost to Arkansas 24-14. No real blowouts for Auburn other than that Georgia game. I will say this, Vanderbilt handled them, though, Jerry, which was surprising to me. And they did that in Auburn. Auburn came back last week and beat Louisiana Monroe, team that Texas played. Auburn won that game 48-14. We'll see whether or not they've got the firepower on offense. They're going to have to corral the A&M offense, in my opinion, with Marcel Reed at quarterback, because I do think that Auburn has just been a team that has lacked the compass, if that makes sense to you guys. I don't think they know who they are yet, and it's the 11th game of the year. And that's one of the reasons why they're not going bowling this year.
Hey, they could. Now all they got to do is win their last two.
Yeah, let's go beat Alabama, and then you're bowl eligible.
And David Rawls, I totally agree with this. Their freshman receiver, Cam Coleman, because he's on a bad team, he's not getting the run as Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, and even Wingo when he's made plays. But this was the other receiver that was really, really good coming out last year. Cam Coleman, he's a really good freshman for Auburn. Of course, they've struggled so bad offensively. He's not getting a lot of national run, but that guy's a future NFL wideout.
Formerly committed to A&M, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a super chat here. And this one from Argemania. What's the wildest, scariest, craziest driving scenario would I have if I were Jerry's dash cam? There has to be some doozies with all those miles.
I will say this, and it was recently. I was driving across Alligator Alley so that goes from southeast to southwest Florida. And I looked to my right, and there were like two gators that looked like they were about to like argue it out and fight. And I almost swerved off the road because I wasn't paying attention. That would have been your best dash cam, because I would have swerved off the road right into Alligator Alley, which probably wouldn't have ended well for the gators.
So time out. I just want to say this. I've been sent a text from Jerry Hamilton that says near miss, and his entire car is sideswiped on I-10 going between.
Oh, Bobby, that is an unbelievable story.
Okay.
Yeah. So
maybe that was worse, but I don't know.
I put that out of my memory, man. JC Sherbert and I at 24/7 when we ran rankings, we'd been in Disney for the Under Armour game, flew back to Houston, and then we were driving to San Antonio for the Army All-America Bowl. And we're on 10, about to go over an overpass, and a 18-wheeler just didn't see me and came straight into me, and I was going 72, 74 miles an hour, and I had to swerve left. I was in the fast lane, and he just didn't see me entering the freeway, and he was like coming all the way over. It's kind of weird. He may have been half asleep, but so I missed him, but I hit the guardrail and did like 2 360s. And JC Sherbert's, that my trunk popped open, the car was totaled. JC Sherbert's, and we got to get JC on the show for this story. His suitcase was on the other side of I-10 on the road, not on the side of the road, on the road with a median in between. That was a wild. I forgot about that, Bobby.
Did I
soil my pants? I didn't have enough time, man.
That's why you wear your seatbelt, by the way. You don't want to be the suitcase on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
That was wild, Bobby. I'm glad you brought that up. I hadn't thought about that in years. We got to get JC Sherbert. We got to get JC Sherbert on the show, because So JC he always has a pin like behind his ear, like on his ear for whatever reason. Like he gets in his thinking mode and he sits there and has a conversation. He has a pin. He's either twirling or puts it by his ear. The only injury either one of us came away with was this pin scratched him across his above his eyelid and like gave him a minor cut.
All I know is I saw the after pictures.
It was
and I'm
bad.
like, what happened?
Yeah, it was bad. I hadn't thought about that in years. Dang. That'll be hard to top. If it's ever topped, I won't be here to talk about it.
I was going to say, let's hope nothing ever tops that.
Yeah.
Just enjoy your way on the car. And I'm glad to hear that you were going 72 to 74, by the way.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and I believe you. Yeah, yeah.
We got a super chat here from Juan Garza. Thank you as always, Juan. And he says, Bobby, Jerry, Kentucky could be our Kansas State. Ironically, the same mascot. Your thoughts?
You know, the difference is Kansas State been more of a winner than Kentucky.
Yeah.
Historically. Now, in the last 30 years now. I do think that they are a hard-nosed team and will play hard the entire game. That's what Stoops, and that's been his MO. But I don't see them having a offensive style that, other than just to pound the rock, you know, Kansas State had a little something extra with the QB run game and incorporating that really gave Texas trouble through the years. And making you defend them two different ways. Kentucky doesn't do that. I don't see that. I will go back to what I said earlier this week when every single one of us saw the Texas schedule earlier when it came out, right? Every single one of us said, "Oh, which one's the trap game this year?" Kentucky. I mean, I think everybody pointed to Kentucky and said that's a trap game. There's nothing that's changed. Texas is 9-1 and poised to go into College Station next weekend playing for the SEC championship. That's all good. That means this is a potential trap game. That there's no doubt about that. Kansas State, I don't know, Juan. I don't see them. I just don't see the similarities between the two.
Yeah,
maybe you do.
Look, and I think one of the reasons Kentucky was considered a trap game before the season, they ranked 22 in the polls. I mean, there was a thought they were going to be one of those sleeper teams in the SEC, which ended up being South Carolina and Vanderbilt. But they have had more impactful injuries than any team, I think, in the SEC this year. Just their injury reports week to week. If you go back and read it week to week, man, it's been a mass unit, offensive line. J.J. Weaver, Hairston, they've missed for most of the year. It's just been their injury. They've had some major injuries this year, but they also had a coach that almost left them and then had to come back, say, hey, just joking, I'm back. And then they've had quarterback issues. One thing is they took Vandegrift out of portal, but in the spring, we talked about this way back at the time. In the spring, when they decided to take a second transfer quarterback out of the portal, what that told me, well, think you have your guy for sure. The guy you just took out of the portal. You're not 100% convinced he's the guy. So they've been more settled at quarterback, even if it came out of the portal in recent years than this year. But they've had a lot of injuries on that team. Here's the one thing though. They're going to bring a physical football game Saturday. Deion Walker, Bobby, remember when he walked by at SEC Media Days? He was the most impressive player there. He is a big guy up front. And he looks
like a bigger Alfred Collins.
Yep.
Long arm, big barrel chest.
And first down defense is going to be so key for Texas because, Kentucky's going to come with the power game. They're going to run counter. They'll run some power. They want to try to put Vandegrift in good positions in this ball game, knowing that their offensive line has given up 27 sacks in 10 games. And now they're playing a Texas defensive front that has multiple guys that can get after the quarterback without bringing numbers. So it's going to be a physical game. It's going to be a very physical game on first downs.
We got a lot more to talk about, a lot of questions and super chats to get to, and plenty of time for you to get your questions in. So please do so. And we're going to get to those here in just a moment. But first, Jerry, I'm going to break out the sound for you. It's your bat signal.
Man. I mean, look, the 5.0 is Kelly. That thing, the 5.0 is living in Baton Rouge right now. But we're talking about the Chairman Pro package today. This is the all-in-one set, includes everything you need to recreate the luxury of a professional shave right at home. Whether you're after that daily silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro package has you covered. Head on over to manscaped.com and join the 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code ONTEXAS for 20% off. First up, we have to start the show. The Chairman Pro electric foil shaver. This isn't just any shaver. It comes with 2 interchangeable skin safe blade heads. That's for that close, smooth shave when you're looking to go completely clean, or the stubble trimmer, the skin safe stubble trimmer, if you want to keep it at a little bit of that rugged look that so many people like these days. The Chairman Pro package, get the Chairman Pro package today and experience a shave as smooth as you deserve. It has everything you need to keep your face looking and feeling its best, all in one box. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code ONTEXAS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code ONTEXAS at manscaped.com. And for LSU fans out there that want to finish off the Brian Kelly era, use ONTEXAS, all caps, for 20% off if you need to take those to Death Valley this weekend.
We'll put that money towards his buyout for you guys, because I'm sure it'll be just huge.
The on Texas code works for even the LSU fans right now if they need it.
And when they're done doing that, I want them to head on over to Public Rec, because I've preached it all week long. Wearing dress pants sucks. Who decided that stiff, uncomfortable jeans squeezing your family jewels was ever a good idea? Consider this to be your holiday miracle. Public Rec is here to help you feel a little more jolly this Christmas season. They have many different styles and colors to choose from in all their clothing. Whether you're wanting polos, shorts, hoodies, or pants, they have you covered. I guarantee that you're going to find something you like, and I guarantee that you're going to like it on you. Here's the best part. They're going to hook y'all up with one heck of a deal. On Texas football listeners get 20% off their entire order using promo code ONTEXAS at publicrec.com. I've been wearing their waffle knit hoodie. I've worn their Daymaker pants. I love their clothes. I've even ordered some more because they're super comfortable. They look great. I promise you guys, you're going to like it. So stop suffering in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. And remember, for a limited time only, you get that 20% off when you use code ONTEXAS at checkout. That's 20% off with promo code ONTEXAS at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them. Please tell them that On Texas Football sent you. Please support our show. Give yourself or someone you love the gift of comfort this holiday with Public Rec.
Wow, Blake, I got to tell you this. I asked Jerry about his seatbelt. Now I've got to ask you about your background. I mean, you got 2 Christmas trees.
It's amazing.
So look,
and they're ornamented up too.
Oh,
I mean, there's not a space.
I wish y'all could see right here and over here, but I'm glad you asked that, because my wife has been so worried that people are going to think this tree looks phenomenal and this one looks terrible. So this one is actually all the ornaments from when my wife and I were a kid to our kids' ornaments that we've gotten each year. And this one is the one that my wife goes crazy decorating on. So,
well, I have a different opinion. I think the wife and the kids' presents go under the big tree, and Blake's go under the tree on the right.
That's probably true too. There's a lot of truth to that as well. And then, like the stockings behind me, mine will be empty and the rest will be full. But that's okay. That's all right. My hard-earned dollars go into them. That's all right. Oh man, we got some more super chats, guys. We got to jump right into them. Brandon Morgan, thank you for your super chat. Any update on Justice Finkley? I feel like I haven't seen him in a game in a while.
He came in briefly against Arkansas, and you're right. He has been passed on the depth chart, no doubt about it. The addition of Trey Moore and Colin Simmons has done that. The movement of Ethan Burke over to back up Barron Sorrell at times this year has done that. So I feel like he's not in the top 4. And if there's anything to say about that, it's It's a sign of Texas getting better overall as a team, because Justice Finkley was in the top 4 at defensive end as a true freshman. It's not like he's gotten worse. You know what I mean? Texas just brought in better players. That's the sign of a program moving in the right direction. Justice Finkley, according to folks behind the program, just a good person and a good kid. I wish nothing but the best for him. It'll be interesting to see, though, whether or not he's a guy that we look at and might be a potential portal prospect next year. Now, don't forget, Barron Sorrell's gone, so he might push in there, but Colton Vosick is back, Zeno Miozulu, and then you have all these other edges that are coming in that we've talked about, including Lance Jackson and Smith Orogbo, possibly Javian Hilson. It's going to be a room that has a lot of competition in it. So spots at Texas are not given or assumed. You have to earn them right now. And that's why Texas, one of the reasons why Texas is 9-1 and not, 5-5.
And then we earlier we talked about Matt's wife, but Ted Apari 1 says prayers for my better half getting a hip replacement right now. So best of luck and get well soon.
Get well soon, Ted Apari's wife. You got to put up with him. You better be in good shape to do that.
Bevo Holic, thank you for your super chat. Hope Jonah Williams gets better soon, but sure glad he wasn't playing us last night. Go Tigers, 3rd round. Here we come.
There you go. Yeah, Jonah Williams, cracked clavicle. Should be Blake. I don't know if we have an update from the baseball side on him, because that's what's going to matter. He's not going to go. He wasn't going to go through spring football at Texas anyways. The plan as of last time I talked to somebody, which was pre-injury, by the way, was to sit in on team meetings and football, Blake Gideon position meetings in the spring, but pitch off the mound and play for the Texas baseball team in the spring, and then put the football pads on come August. And that doesn't mean not go through Torrey Becton's workouts necessarily, but spring baseball focus with sitting in on those meetings, learning the defense, learning the signals, learning the calls, everything he needs to learn ahead of time, and then begin the football part of his college career in August.
Yeah, and I don't have like a new update on him, but I did just send a text, so maybe I'll have one by the end of the show. I might pull a Jerry.
And that was really, I mean, you want to talk about a bad look. Galveston Ball had a chance to make a little noise in the playoffs, and I don't think they were state title contenders. I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way at all, but they had a chance to make a noise because he was good for 3 touchdowns a game, either special teams or couple touchdown catches or out of Wildcat or an interception return. He was having a phenomenal season, more than just where he's ranked as a safety prospect. That guy was scoring touchdowns in a number of ways that impacted games. And you can't replace that. It's one thing if he'd played safety only for them, for a good team, but he was your kickoff return guy. He was your best outside receiver. He was your 50-50 ball winner. He was your big play maker. You'd run him at Wildcat in the red zone. I mean, they lost their touchdown maker off that team.
Next one's a 2-parter from my buddy Jason here. Jason Washington says, my birthday's next Saturday. I'm looking forward to seeing both teams be 10-1 and battle it out on this renewed rivalry. But what Jason wants to know is which players currently are eligible to return next season. We're going back to talking about from.
I mean, Isaiah Bond's going pro. I'll be surprised if Cam Williams is back. I mean, you got guys like Matthew Golden, right, Bobby, that may have a decision to make. But I've been leaning all year to him going, and even if he's a 3rd, 4th round type of guy, which I think he's a mid-round guy. I just wonder how many of those guys, DJ Campbell, I think is a guy who will need another year and may not have the draft stock of the other guys we've been talking about, or will not. So it'll be interesting to see in that regard. Bobby, I wonder, Jermaine Lole technically could have another year. Tia Savea is clearly redshirting to come back next year.
Yeah. So it's Jason's question, though, is kind of hard. Like, could Silas Bolden come back? I believe he could, because one of his years was the COVID year. Here is the whole issue that I get. Who's exhausted their eligibility anymore is really hard for me. Cole Hudson is not gone. Cole Hudson's only a junior. Or only a junior. Yeah, junior. So he's expected to start next year, either at center or one of the guard spots. There are a lot of people that could theoretically come back for another year. I think Gunnar Helm could come back for another year if he wanted to, but he's not.
No.
Right. And so I don't, it's hard when you start looking at Andrew Makuba theoretically could come back for another year, but is he going to? No. Right. And so you get into this about who all. I think the best way to do it, because I will add this, Jason, because I know your son Jordan plays for the Longhorns. Give you an example of something. Last year, everybody that walked, except for one player that walked on senior day, left. When he either was a grad transfer or went into the NFL or just finished their football career, right? The only person that didn't was David Benda. He walked, but came back. So, and I think there were 20 some odd guys that walked that year, or 15 to 20, something like that. Probably the same amount that will walk on Saturday. So it's just hard. You may have one peel back, but you're not going to have 3 or 4 from it, Jason.
Will Trey Moore have an interesting decision to make?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. And you and I both know his agent, Jerry, and I think he's back, but he could graduate and go. But you know what? I think he's playing better and better. And I think teams are seeing that more and more, that he's more than just a rush guy now. That's one thing that we talked with his agent about. He's no longer just considered, hey, I'm a pass rusher. He's proving that he can do some things. Like he was the guy that covered Jaquindon Jackson out of the backfield.
Yeah.
On that late pass rush that forced a field goal in the fourth quarter. It was Trey Moore that had him covered. And so Michael Taft has it. Michael Taft by year is actually a senior. Okay. He could walk on Saturday. We don't know yet. That's one actually I'm watching as much as any.
All right, our next super chat comes from Mike. Thank you, Mike. He says Brian Kelly was a questionable culture hire from the start at LSU. Fish out of water from the start. Is it confirmed that Cade and Zion are visiting? Cade Phillips and Zion Williams.
Cade Phillips still plans to visit. We'll see what happens with Zion. We'll see.
Zion went out and said he wasn't on Tuesday, but that was prior to Bryce Underwood saying no to LSU as well. Or not just saying no, but leaving them at the altar is really what happened. If you missed the start of this show, Jerry and I started off talking about how the nation's number one player late yesterday opted to commit to Michigan over LSU after being committed to LSU, I think, for almost a full year back in January, Jerry. Is that right? Number one player in the country, quarterback that had been recruiting all of these players to LSU, by the way. Every single one of them knows who Bryce Underwood is and et cetera. And he bails on them with 9 days to go before signing day. 10 days, I guess it is now. That's causing some upset in Baton Rouge, not just with Bryce Underwood. I think this put in a friend of ours, Shea Dixon, Jerry, beat writer at LSU. He openly admits, what does this do for the future of LSU football? Because we don't have a quarterback. We don't have the next quarterback. The next quarterback was supposed to be Bryce Underwood. We've already lost 3 games in a row, 4 overall now. Where are you going, Brian Kelly? What's your plan? And that's one of the reasons why, his buyout number is being talked about. $60 million right now. And it was an odd fit from the start. Trace Little, my sources have Tom Herman to LSU.
Well, if you're Trace Armstrong and you just call yourself Trace Little, you're probably pushing that. By the way,
Trace Armstrong is Herman's agent, by the way.
Albert Poole, how solid is Walter Mathis with his LSU commitment? Well, he's scheduled to be at Miami this weekend, so we'll see. But now Miami canceled all their official visits this weekend. Maybe they only had 12,000 tickets sold for the game. I don't No, but it's kind of odd.
Hey, Jerry, a couple of other super chats for you real quick. Jackson wants to know, is navigating the DFW Mixmaster a second instinct for you?
You know,
I've driven with Jerry, and the answer is no.
The easy thing about this job, the easiest thing about this job is when you're driving in not the major cities, you just look for the water tower and head there, and the high school somewhere within half a mile.
So true.
In DFW and Houston, it's not really that way.
If you're in East Texas at night on a Thursday or Friday night, mostly Friday nights, and you see lights, you know where you're going. You don't even, you just like weave back and forth and go through the neighborhoods, and there's the stadium.
Yep.
People ask about Zion Williams. Look, the thing, and I'm going to say the same thing about Zion that we said back before he committed to LSU. His girlfriend goes to LSU. She was going to LSU at the time. She's a freshman at LSU. Zion's very tight with her family. That's a pretty steep hill to overcome. So, even if the visit were to happen, even if he were to show up in Austin, even with all the stuff going on at LSU, there's a little different stuff with that recruitment.
And one other recruiting super chat for you, Jerry Slick Rick wants to know how many highs left on the table. If we land Fasusi, Terry, and Wiley, where does that put us in rankings? And is this Sark's most talented class? Take it away.
2 or 3, I would say that. And
Phillips, does he have to go in there too?
Well, if Texas dominates, let's leave Fasusi out. Okay, let's leave him out. But if Texas won out for, I don't know, 4 of the last 6, 7 guys on the table, right, and leave Fasusi out. If it was Terry, Cade Phillips, Wiley, they're locked into probably the 2/3 ranked class. And it depends on if Naeem Offord bounces from Ohio State and ends up at Auburn or somewhere, which is, he's visited other places. There's still a couple of moving parts in that Ohio State class too that could hurt them more than help them. So that factors in. Georgia's going to score. They got Chase Linton this week. They'll get a couple other guys, may get Justice Terry. So they still have some more upside in their class. But if Texas right now with the guys they're in on signs 27 or 28, I think they're going to have the number 2 ranked class in the country. That's where I see it going right now. If the class, because the guys they're recruiting, Joseph and Bach 2s of the world, they're all 4-star guys. Now, if the Fasusi, because he's the highest ranked guy out there, if you happen to flip him on December 4th, now A&M's in it too. I'm not sitting here saying it's going to happen. I know he won't flip to FSU like their quarterback commit did. But if he were to flip to Texas in the scenario you asked, Texas has a shot to finish 1. But I think 2 is probably most likely for the class. And is this Sark's most talented class? I would say defensively, if they close out on some of these guys in the end, it is defensively. That's for sure.
And hold on to Myron Charles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys.
By the way, when you said Terry, I think the assumption is you meant Michael Terry out of San Antonio Alamo Heights, not Justice Terry.
Right.
The defensive lineman out of Georgia.
Yeah. By the way, I've got to go in a second. We've had a couple of questions about basketball. Jason Kent didn't play last night. Tremont Mark did. Texas plays St. Joe's tonight at 8, ESPNU. St. Joe's, both Texas and St. Joe's were up 15-16 at one point, gave it all back, had the win late. Texas, look, they still haven't played at full strength this year. Offensively was bad the second half. They still haven't played at full strength this year. You get Tremont Mark back. Jason Kent doesn't play, kind of fell on his wrist against Chicago State or Mississippi Valley State. So he fell on his wrist. He didn't play last night. They still haven't played with the full complement of players, but getting Tremont Mark back a little bit last night, getting him into the mix. Obviously, on nights that if Trey Johnson's going to be the guy that shoots it 18 to 20 times a game, if there's cold nights for him, that's greatly going to affect Texas offensively.
He was nails from the line. Hey, he was nails from the line when it came down to it, though.
Yep. All right, guys, I got to get running. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll talk to you all in the morning.
See you, Jerry. Thank you, buddy. Isaiah Rangel with this question: is Justice Terry a Georgia lock and is Riley Pettijohn an Ohio State lock? A yes on Pettijohn from what we're told. Terry is not giving away what he's thinking right now, at least not to other schools. He may have told Georgia yes already, but Texas is attempting to be involved in that. Whether or not the Longhorns can actually do anything is a different story. Very, very highly touted defensive tackle out of the state of Georgia. Hey, Blake, I know we got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to finish up this episode of Coffee and Football. Jerry's got to go see a player right now that he was actually going into, and that's why he had a 9:15 meeting. So as we all know, Jerry has the job of going out and talking to players, et cetera. Hopefully he has some news for us later today on Texas football about that. We also have later this afternoon our Friday live stream over at the Co-op. Myself, CJ Vogel, Jerry will be there. Rod Babers is going to be on Feinbaum this afternoon. So he is going to actually be on that. So he can't be with us at the Co-op this afternoon. He's going to be there. Make sure you check that out around 3:40, he said, when he goes on live with the Feinbaum. Can't wait for that to happen and the SEC culture get a taste of Rod Babers, because that's going to be fun. But then we also have stuff coming up tomorrow. We have our 7 o'clock. We have the Saturday conversation. Myself, Rod, as well as CJ Vogel break down the games, talk about the keys to a Texas win, as well as other games around the country. Texas Tailgate, Jerry, myself, CJ will come in from the stadium. Watch with us is live at 2:30 with Aaron Hogan. Then the post-game live immediately following the game over at here on this channel. Flight by Yingling, the sponsor. Also, thank you to South Point Dodge, Hargrove, Viking Fence, Flat Creek Estate Winery, as well as MyBookie for sponsoring all of our game day coverage.
There you go. Good stuff, Bobby. And I wanted to answer this question real quick from Horn 7. Any big high school playoff games we need to know about this weekend? There's actually a few, even though we're only in the second round. Number 7, Lufkin takes on number 5, College Station. That game's tonight at 7. Number 13, Fort Bend Ridge takes on number 2, North Shore. That game also tonight at 7. And then there's another, I believe, top 10 matchup. Number 10, Waco La Vega will play West Orange Stark, who's ranked number 9. That game at 7:30 tonight. So 3 big top 10, top 12 matchups, even though we're only in the second round of the playoffs. So for the high school football fans out there.
Yeah, a lot of Texas commits out there playing in tonight. We mentioned Myron Charles is playing at Port Charlotte. Some other guys involved. Kellen Wiley's in the playoffs as well. Guys like that. I want to say this. Michael Terry is playing in Corpus Christi, I believe, tonight. That's the young man out of Alamo Heights.
No, we found out, Bobby, he played last night.
He played last night.
Yes.
Oh,
we did find that out. Jerry was going to go to it and realized that he would be a little late.
How did they do? Do you know if they won or not?
I do believe they did win. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure on that. Let me double check, but I'm almost positive they won that one. So, oh yeah, Christian Kruger right here. No, Bobby, they won. So there we go, 75-13.
Oh,
yeah.
Holy cow!
So there we go. All right. Well, we got another super chat here. And I know we touched on this at the beginning, Bobby, but we've had about 3,000 people join us since then. Arnold says, do we have a list of senior/players walking tomorrow?
No, and we may get that later today or early tomorrow morning. And I went out and did my own list. This is who I have walking for tomorrow, and I'm going to go by actual number on the roster, and it's going to include some walk-ons. Andrew Makuba, Jade Barron, Gavin Holmes, Silas Bolden, Bill Norton, Cole Lord, the reserve quarterback, Velton Gardner, David Benda, Mo Blackwell, Bert Auburn, Vernon Broughton, Thatcher Milton, the wide receiver walk-on, Marshall Landwehr, walk-on linebacker. Both those guys have actually played some for Texas. Chris Rizzi, Jake Majors, Hayden Connor, Juan Davis, Gunnar Helm, Dorian Black, Barron Sorrell, Alfred Collins, and Jermaine Lole. Now, they could walk. Doesn't mean they will walk, by the way. To Jerry and I's point earlier that we were talking about, some guys could when Jason Washington asked that question, some guys could say, no, I'm coming back next year, essentially. Of that group, and this is one of the things that I want to say, there are 9 starters, the straight up starters that are leaving after this year. No doubt. Bert Auburn, Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, Barron Sorrell, Gunnar Helm, Jake Majors, Hayden Connor, Jade Barron, Andrew Makuba. There are 8 others that are key backups, in my opinion, that will be going as well. So I look at it, guys, and I think that it's going to be – it's one of those things where there could be 20 plus, but we won't get the official list until tomorrow morning, is my guess. That's typical in my opinion.
All right, Bobby, before we move on, will you let everyone out there know about the good folks at Duck Camp?
I will. I've been wearing Duck Camp almost all week. I didn't wear it today, but Duck Camp is one of my favorite favorite providers right now as far as what I wear in the morning. If you check out the hoodies that I've been wearing, just tremendous stuff. Duck Camp gear is made for the people that live for the moments out there where there are fish to catch, birds to hunt, time to kill, and football to watch from opening day to game day. They've got you covered. At Duck Camp, they believe you can't just sit around and wait for adventure to come to you. You have to get out there, stay out there, and make the most of every second. Here's the great seasons, hunting and football. Shop hunting and fishing gear at duckcamp.com. They also just have good all-around stuff this color called heathered clay that they have really looks a lot like burnt orange, and it's one of my favorites to wear.
Thank you for that, Bobby. All right, we got some more questions that we're going to get to before we get out of here, and let's take this one from Tyler. What are your top 3 portal needs for next year?
Defensive tackle is one. I think they're going to have to find a receiver because I think that if Golden is gone in particular, you're going to need a receiver. So that, and then I would say, man, it may be 2 defensive tackles are your top 3. Is if 2 defensive tackles and a wide receiver right now is what I'm thinking. I think they feel good at tight end. I think they feel good at offensive line overall, good at quarterback. If they find a running back that is somebody they think can compete for starting time, I think they go after him. But right now, I would say wide receiver, 2 tight ends, or 2 defensive tackles. Excuse me.
Hey, going back to Michael Terry and his win last night, Bobby, just saw this. Jedi Master Bevo says, very reliable source tells me Michael Terry wore his burnt orange receiver gloves in last night's win. So
that sounds good to me.
There's a little tidbit. All right, Thomas Mitchell wants to know, speaking of defensive tackles, how many are we taking in this class?
Well, they've got 2 commitments. They're trying to get to 3 at least. Right now, they have 2 committed. One is Myron Charles out of Port Charlotte, Florida. Myron, though, may be visiting Florida this weekend. It would be his 2nd consecutive weekend in Gainesville. That's an issue. And then also Josiah Sharma out of Folsom, California is the other. Sharma sounds like he's firmly committed to the Longhorns. They're trying to get another one. Joseph Mbaktu looks like he's the favorite for that. He's out of Grayson, Georgia. He's a high school teammate of Nick Brooks, the big offensive lineman that's committed to Texas as well. They're also looking around and talking to other defensive line commitments or other defensive lines around the country as well. They're hoping to get the 3. Right now, they need to hold what they got with Myron Charles, and try to get Mbaktu. And then I think they end up with 3 for this year and then maybe go 1 or 2 in the portal.
Mm-hmm. Terrence Jones says, do you guys see a true freshman running back coming in having a chance to start next year for Texas?
Depends whether Jaden Blue opts to leave and test the NFL waters. Trey Wisener's pretty good running back right now. He's the actual starter for Texas. Cedric Baxter should be back and healthy again. It would take a special freshman running back to start for Texas. But I will say this. That's the same for any position right now at Texas. You think you're going to come in and start at Texas as a freshman, you need to be a special player. Colin Simmons is not starting, playing a lot of snaps. Ryan Wingo is playing a ton of snaps. You have to be a special player, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have a question here from Corey J. All the players who are out for the season right now, do you think they'll be ready for spring ball?
No, I don't. I don't. Cedric Baxter is chief among them, and I doubt Christian Clark will be either. The other running back who's out with an Achilles, those usually take 9 to 10 months to return from. So I don't think that's the case. Derek Williams is he's got an ACL that usually takes 6 to 9 months. He got the injury in mid-September, I think, late September. So no, they won't be all back. Some will, some won't.
And then Phil wants you to take a run at naming our starting offensive line next year. Who are you picking?
I'll go Gooseby, left tackle, Nato, left guard, Cole Hudson at center, DJ Campbell, right guard, Brandon Baker, right tackle. Those are the odds. In my opinion, those are the odds-on favorites for next year. Doesn't mean that actually will come to pass, because like Hudson and Connor Robertson and Daniel Cruz could have a little bit of a go at it, and then that could push Hudson out to guard, maybe move Nato to right tackle. I mean, a bunch of permutations of that. The other one to look for is Jaden Chapman in that mix somewhere as well, in my opinion.
And speaking of offensive linemen, Bobby, Football Texas says, I think Jerry said one time that Fasusi needs more development than Kelvin Banks did. Is that still the case?
Yes, it is. And Kelvin Banks was a rare guy that ran the ball a lot in high school at Summer Creek. Fasusi actually might be better in pass sets than Kelvin was at the same time. But we'll see. I mean, Fasusi's a good player. I think Lamont Rogers, the other one in the Metroplex, really good player. A&M apparently going to get him. But yeah, I think that Banks, because of his physicality, that's where it's at right now.
There we go. And then let's talk about tight ends for a second. David Keith Williams says, I hope Amari Nyblack buys into the UT offense and has a great offseason. I think Nyblack, Jordan Washington, and Nick Townsend could be a great trio for the Longhorns without needing a portal tight end.
I think that is the plan. I mean, Spencer Shannon's in that group too, as a inline tight end. I think that portal is not, unless somebody like an Amari Nyblack, somebody that has some elite skill set that they don't necessarily have. And as long as Nyblack is back as well, we'll see about that. I think he plans to be at this point. Juan is expected to walk. Anakin Foul Walker. That's why he's out. He's a senior. So my point there in that group right now, I don't think Texas feels like they have to go get a tight end. If an All-American tight end walks through the door, you're not going to say no.
No. Definitely. All right, we'll do this one here, Bobby, from Nick Ramos, going back to the running backs for a moment. Am I wrong to think that running back is such a hard position for a freshman to really be amazing in this offense? It's such a taxing position because you run through the tackles in Sark's scheme.
Cedric Baxter started last year, first game of the year. So I don't know that it's as taxing. I think you have to have a bigger frame and carry a little more weight, because he does ask you to run inside. I mean, one of the things people aren't talking about enough at Texas right now, Texas doesn't run inside zone nearly, like it's 1/4 of what they did last year with inside zone right now. Okay, that's one of the staples of Sark's offense. Inside zone is what keeps the safeties in the box instead of out on the perimeter. And able to make quick tackles on guys. So My take on it is really, yes, it's tough for a elite running back to get there, but it's possible. I think that's the case.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Before I hit you with this really tough question, Bobby, one more time, let folks out there know about BKCW.
Yeah, absolutely. BKCW is all about the insurance trap and getting you and your business as the business owner or leader of your division out of the insurance trap where a agent literally provides no value and is just giving you a rate quote at the very last minute that you can do nothing about. They operate out of their headquarters in Austin, Texas, and are owned by UT Grad. BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so that you can lower your costs for insurance while managing your company's risk and employee benefits effectively. BKCW has risk consultants that specialize in many different industries, from construction and transportation to nonprofits, restaurant groups, school districts. You'll get matched up with someone who knows your risks and help you escape the insurance trap. Get started with a free risk assessment at bkcw.com or send an email to info@bkcw.com to get started and get the support you deserve. 512-250-5055. That's 512-250-5055. It's the end of the year coming up. Insurance policies are going to renew. Make sure you give them a call over there at BKCW. Thanks for your support of Coffee and Football.
All right. Before I ask you this question, first, in a second, I'm going to ask you your score prediction for this weekend, but I'm going to let the chat weigh in on that, and then we'll circle back to it. But my last user question from you today, or viewer question, comes from C. Gaddis, and he says, if Quinn wins another conference championship and he gets to the national championship, where does he rank among top Texas quarterbacks all time? Those are huge ifs, Bobby. But in the event they do happen, where are you putting him in line, in the pecking order?
It is a great question. So a lot of fans won't remember some of the quarterbacks of the 60s and 70s for Texas. So take James Street out of it, who's kind of an icon at Texas, went undefeated, national championship, etc. Okay. Really, there have been 3 modern day quarterbacks that I think have set themselves apart right now, at least 2, Vince Young and Colt McCoy, right? So is Quinn going to enter that pantheon of quarterbacks at Texas, or is he going to be lumped in with a Chris Sims and perhaps a Sam Ehlinger? Okay. I think maybe these last 3 or 4 games decide that for him, and whether or not he can actually enter into a discussion with Colt McCoy. Because if Texas wins a national championship, Quinn Ewers is going to have had a game or 2 that had to be really, really good. Yeah. Right?
True.
So I think he's somewhere in limbo between those 2 groups right now, and we're waiting to figure out which one it is. That's where I'm at.
All right, Bobby, score prediction. Personally, I'm going to go 27-6. The chat's is weighing in, so while you tell us yours and explain why, I'm going to put theirs up.
All right, 27-6. So you've got Texas covering.
Barely.
That's what it's got. I've got a little bit of a freaky score. Okay. Like you, I don't have Kentucky getting in the end zone.
Okay.
Unlike, I also have Texas getting a safety in this game.
I like it.
So I'm going 19-9. Is my.
It is a crazy score.
That is 2 touchdowns, a field goal, and a safety. People got to remember, CJ Vogel did some nice work on this. You know, Kentucky in conference play, the most points they've allowed in the first quarter is 7.
I saw that when he put that out.
Yeah. So Texas is accustomed to try and get on top of people early. Kentucky prides itself on not allowing teams to get on top of them early. 19-9 is my guess. I hope it's 42 zip, but I think that 19-9 is where I'm at. Maybe 24-9, something like that.
A lot of people picking 9, 6s and 9s for Kentucky in the chat.
Yeah, I think Texas plays a good brand of defense. It's hard for teams like Kentucky to win. This is just my take. Because if you can stop the first down run for Kentucky and put them behind the chains, what are they going to do? Yeah. Now, I hope that Texas – the other thing here that Arkansas's offensive line could not handle the Texas pass rush, right?
Correct.
You agree with that? Yeah. Late in the game, they started finding some – okay, what if I told you Kentucky's offensive line in that regard is worse than Arkansas? Got to make them pass.
Yes.
Yeah. Got to make them pass. Yeah. That's key to this game.
And I don't know what Jerry's score prediction was. I know CJ posted a few minutes ago. He's picking Texas 25-7. So a lot of people, or most people, with no faith in Kentucky's offense, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think that I'll be surprised if this is a game in the fourth quarter.
Uh-huh.
I won't be shocked if it's a game in the fourth quarter. Now, that doesn't mean I think Texas is going to lose. Johnny K. Blue, 14. Thank you, Johnny. We appreciate you. Hope you enjoy your time in Austin and give us your money and then leave.
All right, Bobby. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by BKCW. We want to thank them, along with Duck Camp, Manscaped, and Public Rec, all for sponsoring today's show. Of course, we have the OTF tailgate tomorrow. I'm going to drop that location in the chat one more time. Be sure to stop by. Bobby told you about the weekend coverage all Saturday long. But what do you have later today as well, Bobby?
Yeah, please stop by. If you're in town for the game, stop by the co-op between 3 and 4. Myself, CJ Vogel, be out there hanging out, doing a show. They also have a really fun thing where they actually have a happy hour of sorts on the upstairs lounge. So you can go get a beer or a cocktail and hang out, get some clothes for Christmas. It's nearing in on Christmas time. Remember our friends over at 40 Acres Collection, as well as the Texas Co-op, make that possible for us. Just good time. Come out, hang out. Also, I want to say one last thing to everybody. If you're coming into town tonight in Austin for whatever reason, the university has started doing something well after I left. I think this is the second or third year they've done it. It's a Christmas lights show near the Texas Union.
That's cool.
And it is actually really, really cool. So just something for if you get out and about and want to drive down the drag on Guadalupe on Friday night and check it out, or Saturday night after the game with the tower lit up orange, by the way, hopefully, do that. That's something that's new and unique to Austin. I think people, especially if you've got young kids, they'll enjoy it too.
Hey, Joshua Langer, just saw where you asked for the sponsor for the Texas gear that sponsors right here. 40 Acres Apparel, I think, is who you're thinking of there. So be sure to check them out. You can Google it and it'll come right up. You can also do 40 Acres Apparel Co-op, and I think it'll take you right to it. So that's who you're talking about most likely. All right, guys. Well, we will be back on Monday. Hope you all have a great weekend. Hopefully we come back Texas 10-1 after a great senior day exit. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em, guys.